Hello, you guys. Abigail Gazda here, your clarity coach. And I want to provide a daily dose of transformation for you by sharing a very important equation that many people do not know or understand. We know these things are associated, but we don't understand exactly how. And I want to present an equation to you so that you can truly begin to understand, grasp, and then take responsibility for the equation so you can apply it to your life so you can begin to have a better life. Okay? So, I want to teach you about guilt and shame and all of those weird feelings that come. So the feelings are the roots, right? And then we have a whole stream of thoughts or a whole stream of consciousness that goes with those feelings. And so often we live our lives a victim of shame, a victim of guilt. We let other people's voices cast shame upon us, and we often we believe it's our inner critic, and we hear that negative internal dialogue. But often what I do with clients, very specifically with clients, is I ask them to tell me, or actually speak their inner critic's voice. What are some of the things that inner critic says about you or to you or about what you're up to? And they'll start to, it takes a little coercing because people don't want to admit the way that they talk to themselves. But then once you do and you actually articulate the nasty voice, like, you're not good enough, who do you think you are, what do you deserve this for, don't you dare, like, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough. And we know it's way nastier than that if you just be real with yourself, right? And so I will ask clients to share that with me authentically so that we can really get to the root of it. And number one, there's a slight bit of like embarrassment that comes with us admitting to another person how nasty we are to ourselves. But beyond that, I then ask, okay, that's not you. Whose voice is that? And people will be very like, oh, that's like, immediately you actually know whose voice that is in your life and where you've adopted that from. And so I want to start by like kind of setting you free that inner critique is not yours. It's the voice of someone else. It's the voice of society or generations or what you've heard other people saying about things. Like for me, a big one was like, quitters never win, or quitters are losers. And it stopped me my whole life from quitting things that I know didn't serve me. And it stopped me from living expressed. It stopped me from going towards things that I was truly passionate about, or even exploring things that I didn't know because I thought I had to like achieve at things that I was already achieving at, or things that I already set out to do. Now, something that tends to happen in your life is when you explore things, like, for example, I became a teacher. I did that, and in 3 years' time, I knew that wasn't my end game. I knew that wasn't everything I would ever be and everything I would ever do, but I was really embarrassed about it. I thought, oh, quitters never win. Quitters are losers. Quitters are shameful. And also too, like, well, you said you were going to be a teacher and now you're not going to be. What are you doing? What are you afraid? What do you think, you're not good enough, or like you think you're too good to be a teacher? Just there's all sorts of inner dialogue, right? Well, what I realized was that was not my voice. That was my perceived voice of what I thought people would say about me when I resign, or when I was going to resign. And so I delayed that. I knew in year 2 that I probably wasn't going to be a teacher forever, and year 3 really solidified that for me. So it took a lot of courage to be able to say it and then to face that perceived rejection that I thought I was going to have to go through. And I didn't actually have to go through it. Yeah, sure, there was some questioning, but ultimately I got much more praise, approval, or validation in that process than I thought I would ever receive. And in the experience, no matter what happened outside of me, what I actually got to experience was the self-love for making what I perceived it to be a very risky choice, or a very irresponsible or selfish choice. Once I made it and followed through on it, I experienced more self-love in my whole life than I ever did. And I realized I can be the provider I can be the source of my self-love. I can be the source of my whole life. I do not have to struggle. I do not have to live miserable. I do not have to put up with something that I'm not truly passionate about, which then made all sorts of room for expansion and growth and curiosity and creativity. And that's what I want to give to you today, is an equation to create so much more room in your life for what you actually want to be up to, for what you truly care about, and what you want to be talking about, what you want to be involved in, who you want to be involved with. And it starts with getting clear about that inner voice that you hear, and the way that you're tough on yourself, the way that that voice is tough on you, and that is not your voice. It is a collective voice of consciousness that is coming from parents, family, friends, loved ones, significant others, society as a whole, your culture, your ethnicity. Like, it runs deep, people, okay? But the sooner you can release it, the sooner you can start to get to know you and unleash you, okay? So this equation is, I'm going to say it two ways. Guilt is a symptom of shame. Shame is a symptom of fear. Okay, so write that way. And then we're going to do one more. Guilt, the root of guilt is shame, and the root of shame is fear. So if you just let that equation swirl around your head, you're going to be able to, oh yeah, the pieces fall right in place, and you can see you and your patterns and your ways of being so clearly from that. And so you've got to really get down to the fear, because if you're ever trying to treat the guilt, or you're ever trying to treat the shame, you're only treating symptoms, right? Or the associated thoughts with that, right? Like, if you're feeling guilty, your thoughts are, I should have done this, I shouldn't have done that, I could have done better, I know I'm avoiding, I know I'm procrastinating, and then the not your conversation shows up, like the inner critic shows up and says, like, oh, you're lazy, oh, you did, who do you think you are, you should be doing better. It's like, oh God, it's incessant. And it's frustrating, and it's also very limiting. It does not serve you. All right. So, and neither does trying to treat guilt or shame, right? So a lot of us will get into journaling and we'll write these thoughts and feelings down, which is good. It's helpful, or you may meditate on it. But if you stay focused on just that, instead of going down the rabbit hole and like extracting the root source, then you're always just going to be stuck in a looping pattern of trying to fix yourself. Okay. So instead of doing that, it's important to discover what the actual root fear is. When you do that, my love, you can then go to work on the fear. And guess what? There's actually nothing to do with it. There is nothing to do with your fear, but know it, acknowledge it, and accept it. It is not something that's going to go away, because, well, it can go away in with the work, but it's still always there, because it's as permanent as your left arm. Okay. So the reason that is because in our childhood, there's 3 very vivid ages and memories in which our brains developed and our personalities developed. So there's a lot of deconditioning, unconditioning work to do, and subconscious reprogramming work to do. But ultimately, the people who are the most enlightened or whatever is just that they accept exactly who they are, and how they came to be, and then constantly release it. It's not exactly that it goes away. It's that you release it so often that it does not control you. And this is coaching work. This is the serious work. And I have one tool that I can provide you for free, which is in the Hearts Unleashed podcast. So if you do this equation of guilt and shame and fear, and you find that root fear, I am so afraid of rejection, I am afraid of failure, I'm afraid of not succeeding, I'm afraid of succeeding, right? If you find that root fear, then you can begin to use my tool, Nasser. And you can follow the link in the description to the Hearts Unleashed podcast episode where I break down Nasser in detail so that you can begin to accept and release, accept and release, accept and release that fear so that it no longer controls you. It is such powerful work. And if you want to dive deeper into this, where you do become a master of yourself and a master of your life, then I want to recommend to you my 12-week programs, the Time to Shine program and the Unleashed program. The Time to Shine program is for people who are in the realm of self-discovery. This whole conversation, this 10 minutes that you've been watching, is brand new material for you, and you're just like, oh my God, there is so much for me to learn about myself. If you are in that phase, the Time to Shine program is perfect for you. If you are in self-mastery, meaning you've been doing this work, these fears are old news, and damn it if they control you for one more day. That's my Unleashed crew, okay? So if you want to spend 12 weeks deconditioning and releasing that stuff, and then becoming a master of Nasser and how to truly empower yourself and go from disempowered to empowered like that, like out in the world, and you're triggered and you can snap right back into empowered, that is the Unleashed program, where you are truly a master of yourself. Okay, those two programs are amazing, but you can start with the Nasser episode on the Hearts Unleashed podcast, which is linked in this description. And if you have any questions, you already know that you can reach out to me and let me know that you are ready to start learning yourself, understanding yourself, owning, knowing, loving, and sharing yourself. That is what I do here at Hearts Unleashed. That's what I do as your clarity coach. So I absolutely love you, and it is your time to shift from dreaming about living free and authentic to actually doing it. I love you.